In fact, I probably learned as much, if not more, from outside of the classroom, speaking with natives, speaking with locals, than actually in the classroom learning Chinese. So one of the things I love about travel for learning a new language, learning Mandarin Chinese in Taiwan, which has been my experience for the past year and a bit, is that the whole process feels so much more authentic, so much more natural when I'm able to speak with native speakers, with locals in the country. All of those ordinary moments throughout the day, those unexpected meetings and events that lead to new friendships, new serendipities. When I get to see the different pockets and faces of a new country, I get to experience a new culture, learn about the peculiarities and idiosyncrasies of the culture and the country. All of these things make language learning so much more fun, in my opinion. For example, being able to go downstairs, walk a few steps, and go to the local traditional markets in Taiwan and speak to the guys selling fruits, or the lady with the small stands selling freshly roasted sweet potatoes. These are things that would seem ordinary and mundane and boring even back at home, because I've built sort of a rigid personality or identity that makes it hard to break out of this routine and this mold that I've created. But when I'm traveling, it's almost like I'm able to give myself permission to shed off this old layer and create, or become a stranger, or create a new identity and new personality. And there's also this filter when you're traveling, this filter of novelty and excitement. Like at every corner there's a new possibility, a new potential to meet someone, to create new friends, to create new relationships. This is the magic about travel that makes it so hard to capture in words unless you've actually experienced it yourself. And it's also one of the things that makes language learning in a new country so fun. This is a story of one of those seemingly mundane and ordinary moments of me joining a little choir group, a singing group, on a whim while being in Taiwan, which led to the really cool opportunity to not only learn Chinese, but also make some really cool friends and see an interesting aspect of Taiwanese culture that I haven't seen before. So I moved to Taiwan a bit over a year ago, and at that time I really did not know anyone at all except for one friend who was in a different city than me. I was going to Taichung and my friend was in Taoyuan, so essentially I was on my own. But weirdly enough, I love this experience because I knew from my previous experiences traveling alone that there was so much potential lying ahead, to make new friends, to build new relationships. So one of the first people that I met in Taiwan was actually my Chinese teacher, Huang Lao Shi, and she taught at this language school near my place. And so when I first got there, I booked myself a 1-hour class 5 days a week for 1 month to really try to push myself and motivate myself to learn this language. So the lessons are going great, I'm learning a lot, and near the end of the month, I'm casually talking with my teacher, Huang Lao Shi, and she mentions, we get to talking about singing, and I mentioned that I'm interested in singing, and she tells me that she leads this small choir group for seniors just for fun once a week, and she asks me if I would like to join. And at that point, I was still fairly new to the area and I didn't have a lot of friends, so I thought this was a great opportunity to meet some new people. So I thought to myself, heck yeah, sign me up. So I went to the first week, and then I went to the second week, and then week after week I would show up and we would sing for 2 hours. There were only about 8 of us, so it was a pretty small group, but they had a lot of time to talk because they were all retired. So we would often chat a lot. At that time, my Chinese was still pretty bad. I did not have a lot of confidence in my speaking ability, but over time I slowly got to know them and get to know their stories, and slowly my confidence in speaking Mandarin Chinese improved. And then over time we would do certain activities together, like for example, go watch a movie or play ping pong together. Have lunch together, go hiking, go biking together. So what began as me learning Chinese in a very traditional classroom setting led to me having lots and lots of real world experience chatting and speaking with local Taiwanese people, natives of the language. And probably one of the best environments for me to learn Mandarin Chinese at that time, because they were all retired, they had tons of time on their hands, and they were all curious and very interested in what I was doing in Taiwan, why I decided to come to Taiwan to learn Chinese. And so they were willing to speak to me a lot with a very slow pace and correct the many mistakes that I was making at that time. But the cool part was I was able to learn about their lives and their stories. So one of the guys there in the choir lived most of his life as a chef in the States, but only decided to retire back in Taiwan where he was born. And then another lady spent a lot of time in South America, and she also spoke Spanish, so it was cool just learning about their stories and their experiences, and this made learning Chinese so much more fun. And just like that, we slowly became friends, and to this day we still keep in touch and we still get together. And whenever I think back to these experiences, I always smile because it's such a unique and cool experience that I'm not sure I would have had in Canada, but I guess that's one of the great things about travel. My goal for sharing this story is not that you need to, go and join a choir to learn Chinese, but just to say that there's so many cool ways and creative ways to learn Chinese that are outside of the traditional classroom setting. In fact, I probably learned as much, if not more, from outside of the classroom, speaking with natives, speaking with locals, than actually in the classroom learning Chinese. My good friend Isaac, who I actually met doing language exchange in Taiwan, he's told me a couple times that he believes that language learning is best when it's fun, when it's done in a natural setting, when there's not too much pressure. And this is an idea that I often go back to, and it's a great reminder for myself because it's easy for me to get hard on myself, to tell myself, I'm not doing enough, I'm not memorizing enough words, I'm not learning fast enough. But I think it's important to remind myself that the process should be fun and enjoyable. It's important to be disciplined, you should have goals, but you should also enjoy the process. So hopefully this video inspires you to look for creative and different ways to learn Chinese. Maybe this inspires you to come to Taiwan to learn Chinese. During my time here, I've also taken some classes at local community centers, Tai Chi classes. Of course, language exchanges are a great way to meet the locals. There's usually lots of language exchange events on Facebook and Meetup. I've become good friends with my landlord. Speaking to people at markets, traditional markets, are a great way if you're in Taiwan. I've met a couple of really good friends through doing that. Let me know if you're interested in hearing any of these stories. If you're not able to travel, try to look for native speakers in your community, whether it's in Chinatown, international students that speak Chinese at your university, Chinese associations, or try to get involved with the culture. If you enjoyed this video, you might like this short playlist that I made of some of the best tips that I have for Chinese learners. Happy studying, and I'll see you guys next one. Wait. We rolling, let's get it. Check my head. And all the peculiarities. Peculiarity.
Peculiarity.
Let's do this again.